FedEx Forum and the American Home Shield Studio. This is The Odds Couple on GrindCityMedia.com. Handicapping all the football action, here's Rob Fischer and Lang Whitaker.
Hello, good people. Welcome to The Odds Couple as we get set for college football. Rob Fischer, Lang Whitaker with you. As always, John Roser in the house as well, plus a special guest today. Might as well go ahead and introduce him right now. Gabe Kuhn joins us, former Memphis Tiger offensive lineman 2013 to 17. Also, You can hear him on Sports 56, WHBQ here in Memphis. How are you, Gabe?
I'm doing great, man.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. How are you, Lang?
I'm great. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing really well. The dude abides.
We're about to get college football. Well, I guess we already have.
Snuck up
on us big time.
Yeah, well, all of a sudden the other night on Twitter, I see people talking about Austin Peay University, and I'm like, oh, wait, I guess we're starting here. I start flipping around, I find the game on.
Right.
By the way, if I was the real Austin Peay, whoever Austin Peay was, wouldn't you tell people, well, it's actually pronounced pay?
Yeah, so you don't have the let's go pee little slogan.
Your whole life. It's good.
Although maybe you liked it. You know, it's a lot of attention. John Roser's here. How are you, Roser? Wearing the Niners
wonderful.
shirt?
Yeah. I'm ready to go. Good. Football is back.
Yeah. Well,
not kind of. I mean, we got to get the Power Fives are starting soon, too.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we got Tiger football this weekend.
The conference doesn't matter are back.
We got big Tiger football.
Tiger football. That's right.
I went to Georgia.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'll start in a few weeks. On the 26th, we'll have SEC football. But we got the Tigers playing this week. The college football season technically getting under week as well, so we'll preview a lot of the Tigers today. That's why we got Gabe here in with us. Gabe, just right off the bat, Tigers, we excited? Like you said, it snuck up on us. Our focus hasn't necessarily been on college football in the last few months.
No, not at all.
So it kind of snuck up on us. What are we looking at? What kind of Tiger team are we looking at?
It's bizarre because when you look at like spring practice, how much you miss from missing out on that is crazy. You're talking about a team that lost Antonio Gibson, has to replace a few guys on the O-line, and with that comes a lot of experience that didn't get to happen through spring ball. Right. So it's weird because I think certain teams with continuity can still start fast, but for the most part, I think it's going to be slow coming out for a lot of teams. But now that I say that, it'll probably be as quick as possible, 80 points a game. But I think the offenses are going to start a little slower and be a little more sluggish as we come out the game.
I mean, watching Hard Knocks on HBO, they went something like 21 days without contact in practice at the start of it. So I imagine for colleges, it's probably the same thing. These teams haven't had as much physical contact, as much pads on practice as they usually have by this point. Probably a little behind the curve. And with Memphis, you get a new coach, new stuff's going on there, so it's probably a lot to adjust to.
The one thing about Memphis is luckily you have some continuity. You have a coach who replaced, who was on staff. You have the same OC, have a lot of the same special teams coordinator. A very similar sort of thought process behind what the game plan is going to be. So I think that's going to help Memphis.
Besides the coach, though, there is one other big missing part from last year that we just learned about.
That's right. Kenneth Gainwell, who is second-team All-American, is opted out for the season. Then we find the story that 4 family members have passed from COVID-19, which is just terrible. So I don't think anybody disrespects the decision whatsoever. Obviously, it hurts the Tiger football team. But, Gabe, it's RBU. Who's next?
It's looking like Rodriguez Clark and Kylan Watkins are going to be those guys. Rodriguez Clark's going to be a sophomore at this point, out of Mississippi. He's dang good player. I mean, he's 6 foot 200, can do everything you need him to do. What's yet to be seen, though, and where you miss Kenny Gainwell the most is that pass catching.
Yeah.
Right? What he did out of the backfield and even split out last year was I mean, you don't get a lot of running backs splitting out, being your outside receiver, catching back shoulder balls and taking them out. It just doesn't happen. So when you look at Rodriguez Clark, you're going to have to see what kind of production you can get out of him there. But in the end of the day, this team has been so running back friendly.
Yeah.
You run a lot of outside schemes. The O-line's been taught very well. You have an O-line minded head coach.
Listen to this guy.
We're going to get a lot of that today.
Yeah. Hey, we can get some film out. I'll break it down for you.
You just jump across and hit that
guy. But you have a running back friendly scheme that the Tigers like to run. So I think that production may not be on Kenny Gainwell's level, but it will be pretty high. I think you're going to have a good level of production.
We've seen it. And, you can say, is it the scheme or is it the talent? But when these guys are going to the NFL and having some success already in the NFL, I guess you have to say it's a little bit of both. If it's the scheme, how much do they miss a beat? And if it's talent, the way that they've developed running backs and have had running backs, maybe the scheme even helps that development. Do you expect them to? Boy, it's tough to say not miss a beat without Kenneth Gainwell. But
they're gonna miss a few beats.
Do you have guys that can just fit right in? I mean, does this take you from a 10-win to 9-win or 9-win to 8-win team?
I think what we're going to have to see is sort of a guy or two step up out of the backfield. We have to see how the O-line goes now. They lost Dustin Woodard, and here goes O-line talking. Dustin Woodard, you lost Scotty Dill, and you have a lot of moving pieces right now.
Right.
So you're going to miss a beat without him. Just because, again, you're losing production in the pass game. You're going to lose. But the difference is, we're talking about Darrell Henderson, he run for 2,000 yards, more or less, 1,900 yards. Then you go to Kenny Gainwell, who had 2,000 scrimmage yards. I mean, that bar is ridiculously high.
Not to mention what Patrick Taylor and Tony Pollard did.
I mean, good production is 1,000 yards out of the backfield, out of any running back is good production. I expect that production. But, I mean, I'm not talking astronomical. But, again, we didn't really expect that out of Kenny Gainwell last year when Patrick Taylor went out.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting sort of start to the season, see who takes on those roles. But I think they have guys that can do it.
Shouldn't we be talking about Brady White?
Yes.
Like
I mean, the big news was Kenny Gainwell.
All this other stuff is sort of ancillary, right? Because he's the one who's going to have the ball every play, is going to give it to the running backs, or is going to find the receivers, and maybe the offensive line changes hurt him as much as anyone.
We are days away from the Brady White haters on Twitter.
I think
are they fully gone yet? I had my look. Because even before the season last year, I had my certain takes on the situation. I was, he's not the main playmaker. He's got guys around him who do it. But after last year, I mean, I think he proved a lot of people that he is a smart player and is going to get the ball to the right place.
Where did he improve last year that you look at this year and expect even more?
I think his smarts within the pocket and making the right plays. He's not going to wow you with arm strength. He's not very athletic. But what he is absolutely positively smart. So if he can sort of sit in this same system for his third year, I think you're going to see even more steps in his progressions, everything of that nature, his audibles, being able to be a sort of better game manager. I think that's going to be better this year too.
I was I'm not really a Memphis fan, but watching him play, you get frustrated sometimes. You're like, take a chance, man.
Go for the long Georgia
ball. Push
fan.
it downfield.
Oh yeah,
it's death by 1,000 cuts. We talked about it, but I feel like that's also what Brady White excels at, is not making the wrong pass, not throwing the ball away on 3rd and long or whatever. Not taking the sack to get you knocked out of field goal range. All those little things was what he's good at, and it's not exciting, it's not fun, but it works.
Yeah.
You look at this dude asking a school to take a chance. He's a fan of a school that didn't even know how to use Justin Fields, who's like the freaking best player in college football.
I'll tell you what, I bet he wishes he was still in the SEC right now.
Well, they're going to play.
Georgia is quarterback for other conferences.
This year we got Newman starting at quarterback.
Hello.
Well, JT Daniels got the waiver, right?
What's that?
But
he's still not clear.
Oh, he's okay.
Yeah. A new coach, guy who's been in the system. You played for him, Ryan Silverfield. What can you tell us about him that you enjoyed as a coach?
He's a player's coach. He makes sure that all of his players are taken care of. Gives you a little bit of leash and will take it away if you show him that you're not supposed to have that leash. But more than anything, as far as the run game goes, he is I mean, he's a mad scientist. Honestly, I've played for a few coaches, did some camps in the NFL, and what he does with his run game, it's just the differentiation of the schemes he runs. That defense can never be sort of on their P's and Q's. They're always confused. They're always dealing with misdirection. So he's very, very good at game planning in the run game, which is why I think he kept on his OC, Kevin Johns. That's a guy who's been around past games here and at Texas Tech with Cliff Kingsbury. Yeah. So that's why he kept him around to call plays, because he needs a little bit of help in regards to the pass game. Yeah. But that run game's on lock all day.
Yeah, and with Silverfield, Fuente had such success. Norvell had such success. What does Silverfield have that you feel like can continue that success, or what questions even do you have about can he do certain things?
So he's I think he can absolutely take over and not really miss a beat. Obviously, the COVID-19, it's just his first year, and I think there's a lot of people new coaches this year. I feel horrible for him. I really do. But he's a guy. The one question I have is, he's going to be a coach that runs it like a CEO. He's not going to be a main play caller.
Right.
He's not very involved in the defensive scheme. So what you saw this offseason was him go and find all these good coaches. You find Mike McIntyre. You keep Pete Limbo on staff. You keep Kevin Johns on staff. And can he run that program being that CEO-style coach? And that's the one question I have. I think he can, based on what he did in this offseason.
Yeah.
But overall, when you look at how he likes to run his offense, what he does in game planning, I think it's very, very similar to what Mike Norvell did.
Right. Can you put yourself in the shoes of players today? Camp has been – no, we didn't have spring practice, which we touched on a little bit. But camp has been, I guess, regular length, but it certainly is far from normal.
Yeah.
How ready are these guys?
And this goes back to spring ball. I'm not –
and this isn't
positive.
Just Memphis, but everybody in the country.
It's all around the country. I think as far as what they had to do to get ready and testing, they test every week a couple times. It's got to be weird. But if I know anything about coaches, they're doing all they can to try to hold on to a little bit of normalcy within that locker room. Mm-hmm. All they possibly can. It's hard, honestly, though, to put myself in their shoes, because this is just
different.
It's bizarre. It's something that no one has dealt with in 100 years, and even back then, it was we're not. It wasn't the deal it was now. So it's hard for me to even imagine. I'm not even that far removed. I'm washed up, but I'm not that far removed. But I can't even imagine what those players are going through, day in, day out, having to deal with the testing and everything else.
Yeah. Well, we talk about quarterback. We've talked about running back, wide receiver, tight end, a position that they've been very strong the last couple of years. DeMonte Coxey's back. He's fantastic. We know that. How deep are they at the receiver and tight end?
So that's where Mike Norvell did a really good job of recruiting. He makes sure he gets those guys that can step in and step up at any point. I think Taj Washington's a guy they've been talking about for a couple years who's sort of going to be that slot type of guy this year. The interesting thing is you lost depth, because I don't know the situation right now with Pop Williams. Obviously got hurt last year, ended his season, had to go through a tough rehab process. I know that was tough on him, but he's not with the team right now. So it's going to be less depth than we're used to, especially looking at last year. Antonio Gibson and Coxey, everybody, Calvin Austin. You had a bunch of guys that you could just go down the list. I think this year's going to be similar, but you're cutting out a name that's been there for a while, that knows what's going on, and that's always going to lead to a little bit of a depth issue. But there's guys that, we didn't expect Calvin Austin to step up last year, and he did what he did. So I think there's going to be a chance for other guys to have their coming out party this year.
And we saw with Joey Magnifico, tight end can be a great bailout position. I think it's one of the most underrated positions in sports. Mm-hmm. You can always use a guy at tight end that can be your bailout. Do they have guys at tight end?
They had Sean Dykes, who got hurt last year. and I think he did. I think he redshirted. I'd have to get a fact check on that. But Sean Dykes is one of the best pass catchers on the team. Came into Memphis as a slot receiver, and he's not overly big, but he's fast. He runs really crisp routes. So that's a guy I would expect to be a big pass catcher. The problem with that, though, is he's small. So the inline run blocking, they're probably going to defer to their big, massive guy, Cameron Wilson, who's 6'7", 260, like an extension of the O-line. He's a tackle, more or less. So it's going to be different without Joey, because Joey was that do-it-all tight end. I can put you in line. I can drop you off. I can split you out. I can do whatever I want with you. Whereas this year, you have one guy who's a pass catcher, one guy who's a run blocker, and they don't do the other thing.
Right.
So it's going to be a challenge, no doubt.
All right, offensive line.
Oh, okay, all right. All right.
Is this the last segment?
Yes.
We can skip over it. We can skip over it if y'all are going to fall asleep while I talk about it.
For those guys, for the other skilled guys to have success, the real skilled guys.
Oh yeah, the real skilled guys.
They've got to have success. How's the offensive line?
It's going to be interesting because you have a lot of moving parts. Looked at the depth chart yesterday, and they have Dylan Parham, who is playing left guard. He's moved to right tackle. You have Manny Arona-Lopez from right guard. You move him to center. The only mainstay right now in his normal spot is Obina Eze, and he plays left tackle, big 4-star recruit, guy that Silverfield Trust brought in from over there in Nashville. So that's the only sort of mainstay along that line right now. And then you have two newcomers, Isaac Ellis, left guard, and then Evan Fields at right guard. And they're questions because these are guys, again, Evan Fields, I think, came on. He's a redshirt freshman, so he came onto campus last season, didn't get any game time, didn't get any spring ball, and now he's thrown in and thrust into that right guard position. And you sort of have questions. But if I know anything about Ryan Silverfield, a guy that is that young being in that position shows that he trusts him at the very least. So we'll have to see. It's not going to be the group they had last year. The group they had last year was very senior laden.
Would you call it a weakness or more of just a question?
Question. I'd call it because last year I think to a certain, or 2 years ago and last year there were certain questions. But I know that they're in good hands with Silverfield and Jim Bridge, their new O-line coach. So more of a question than anything, and then we'll make our distinction when we see them in action against Arkansas State.
And as an offensive line aficionado,
oh yeah,
I mean,
are you okay?
Well, the important thing is they brought back the left tackle, and he's going to guard Brady White's backside on the pass rush. So I think they'll be all right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Defensively, that sounded like our offensive
good, right?
line aficionado.
Put that in your Twitter profile.
Defensively, they're getting older, which is good.
Yeah. Junior and senior laden. You're going to have – the one thing I love is you have a guy who is a former coach of the year in Colorado, and a guy who you look at Ole Miss 2 years ago versus last year when he took over, Mike McIntyre. It's a different defense, completely different defense. I know everything. I've talked with some of the guys on the defense. They love his scheme. They think it fits them well. So I think this is going to be even a more improved group with all these juniors and seniors than it was last year with Adam Fuller. It's just you have a junior and senior-led group with a very experienced defensive coordinator.
Well, maybe that's where you lose Gainwell or whoever, the skill position. Maybe the defense is actually, for the first time in years, you can actually trust them to
all you've ever wanted
is
top 60.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
And maybe
what they can do.
Maybe they can do that.
Hey, look at last year. You have a little bit. The other team has a little bit of sort of strength against them.
Yeah.
And you go to the Cotton Bowl.
Right.
That's it wasn't like, and I don't think any Memphis fan is sitting there like, oh, the defense was phenomenal last year, fantastic, right? But you get to the Cotton Bowl with just when the other team has a little bit of strength going against them.
Yeah.
Last year they were good enough.
Yes.
Maybe this year they can be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll take a break. We're just underway here on the Odds Couple talking Tigers as they get their season underway this week against Arkansas State. We'll go over the lines and some of the other games going on this weekend a little bit later here on the Odds Couple. But when we come back, we'll talk a little SEC as well and all of the college football world. Gabe Kuhn in the house with us today, former Tigers offensive lineman. Lang Whitaker's here. John Roser's here. I'm Rob Fisher. We take a break, come back with more of the Odds Couple here on Grind City Media.
I love the haircut. They tell me you've been getting beat up over it, Zach.
They
They
say I look like I'm 25. I was in somebody said I was in Vegas. They said, "Is that Zion?" I said, "I paid away for little brother." I said, "That's my little brother."
Tune into grindcitymedia.com, Grind City Media on YouTube, or on the official Grizzlies mobile app to catch Chris live or download each episode daily, and subscribe at iTunes, Spotify, or SoundCloud today.
The debate is whether he's a star or a superstar right now, which is what the headline and sort of the tweet suggests. But I'm liking that discussion right now with Ja Morant at point guard.
Tune in to grindcitymedia.com to follow Michael Wallace and Lang Whitaker as they debate the biggest topics in the NBA, the Grizzlies, it's IMHO. Mike and Lang will share their humble opinions on the hottest league water cooler news, providing insight, analysis, and a little heat. Watch and read weekly by visiting grindcitymedia.com or follow on Twitter at grindcitymedia today. What's up, Grizzlies fans? I'm Megan Triplett, and I have some exciting news to share. We have a new app. That's right. It's a 3-in-1 experience that you don't want to miss out on. Check this out. The app will keep you up to date on all of the Grizzlies stats and latest news. If you're looking to see what events are going on at FedEx Forum, that can all be found on the app as well. Plus, if you want to see more of me and the rest of the Grind City Media team, like Chris Vernon, Lang Whitaker, and Mike Wallace, there's a section for all that. It is 365 days of content to keep you in touch with all things Grizzlies, FedEx Forum, and GCM. And did I mention you can also purchase and manage tickets on the app? The app does it all. Download it now.
Welcome back to GrindCityMedia.com, live from FedEx Forum and the American Home Shield Studio. Now, here's more of the Odds Couple, Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker.
Hey, don't miss the newest Grind City Media show, Rise and Grind, with Jessica Benson and Megan Triplett. The duo brings a fresh, fun, and energetic double shot of morning vibes to catch you up on the latest in sports, entertainment, pop culture, and everything Memphis, with some completely biased, unfiltered discussions and a side of slightly above-average jokes. Tune in to GrindCityMedia.com, Grind City Media on YouTube, or via the official Grizzlies mobile app to catch the show, or download each episode daily and subscribe at iTunes, Spotify, or SoundCloud today. Welcome back to the Odds Couple. Rob Fisher, Lang Whitaker with you. John Roser here as well. And special guest today, Gabe Kuhn, former Tiger offensive lineman, 2013-17, likes to talk about the important guys on the football field.
I feel like there's a little bit of
the real skill guys.
trying to be a little
No, not at all. Also,
Okay.
you can hear Gabe on Sports 56 each and every afternoon with the midday show, and also with John Harden and Happy Hour on Sports 56. So thanks for coming, Gabe. We appreciate it. All right, put yourself in a player's shoes. Take yourself back just a couple years. You're not that. You're not that washed up.
Yeah.
Put yourself back a couple years, playing in front of an empty stadium. This isn't even an empty arena or an empty gym. This is an empty stadium. How weird.
It's going to feel like a spring game. I mean, it's going to feel like what are they going to have, 4,500 in there, more or less? And the most you're going to get is a 20% capacity. I mean, that's a scrimmage. That feels like a scrimmage. So they're going to have to bring their own energy. There's no question about that. The players. They got to figure it out. And Coach Silverfield's going to have to, and the coaches in general around college football are going to have to find ways to pump that into their head, whether it's at practice, not playing music, making it completely silent out there. I don't know how you go about that.
It's going to be weird.
Because usually you're practicing for people screaming in your ear the whole game.
Right.
Like, that's the whole idea of having this loud music. Coach Norvell used to do crowd noise at practice when we're doing field goals and everything else. That's what you practice for year-round, and not having that at all is going to be bizarre, to say the least.
Ryan Silverfield, head coach of the Memphis Tigers, talked about practicing at the Liberty Bowl in front of no fans.
You know, that's one of the things. We came out here, I told them I did not want the speakers on. I did not want the music playing. Obviously, an empty stadium, so I wanted them to get a feel what it may be like. We don't know how many fans are going to be here in our stadium. Obviously, we've got a great home field advantage and a beautiful stadium. We've got the best fans in the country. Obviously, ideally, we'd love it to be full, but we know that's probably not going to be the case. So it was a chance for us to come out here, be back in our home stadium, and experience what it would be like. I wanted them to motivate themselves. Obviously, when our fans are cheering or yelling, got the cheerleaders and the band, it adds for a lot more excitement. But we're going to have to be a lot of self-motivated players and staff this year. And we came out here knowing that we had to get the job done regardless. It was an unusual and unique atmosphere, but guess what? We're going to have to be prepared for it, and I thought today was a perfect way to do it.
Again, I think the important thing is everybody's dealing with the same thing. Yep. So everybody, it's going to be bizarre for everybody. But I think as we've seen in the NBA bubble, it certainly takes away home field advantage.
Yeah, but I also think at this stage, like, does it matter that much? Maybe in football more than basketball, because you're like calling plays at the line and trying to make adjustments and that kind of thing. And basketball is just so much read and react. So maybe it's more helpful in football. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. When I watched the game the other night, the Austin Peay game, like as a fan watching the game,
you watched the Austin Peay game
front to back, whole thing.
Football. No, because I didn't know what was happening until the second quarter. I saw it on Twitter, then I had to find it, but. I didn't feel that different to me. Like, you know, there were some, they still had the parents there. They could cut to the shot of the parents afterwards. So
that's until you see the Iron Bowl with what? 20,000 fans. You're like, what is going on? That's the thing it's hard for me to imagine. Is like, heck, when you get into a national semifinal game and you can only have 10,000 people in it, what's that going to look like? But for those games, I mean, for 1AA, it didn't
But
feel
even
that.
for those, like, I mean, football is a social experience, right? We go because we hang out with our friends and we tailgate and we all get to see people you see every fall and hang out outside the Liberty Bowl, whatever, for a couple hours. And now all that's gone. So it's not just the people in the stands. I think it's that whole experience of that weekend and getting to spend time with people.
Yeah. SEC getting underway in 3 weeks. They'll start on the 26th, 10-game schedule. All-conference schedule, 10 SEC games.
It just means more, Rob. It just means more.
I think it's exciting. I think it's great that games each week are, I mean, like,
they're real
on
games.
This show, when we're talking, we're not talking
great.
Tennessee, UAB. We're talking conference games every single
No one's playing Austin
week.
Peay up here.
No, and you'll be able to watch teams other than Austin Peay. When you hear about the 10-game SEC schedule, what sort of things are you excited about, and does anything concern you?
I'm excited, that we're going to have football from the SEC, the best conference in the country. And number two, I'm excited because top to bottom, it's such a strong conference. Like, almost all the teams are really, really good. I was also excited Georgia opens against Arkansas. So we kind of get a bye week coming into this thing. But it's a good chance to kind of ramp up, especially now that Georgia doesn't have a quarterback. That happened apparently during our first segment of taping the show. So I'm excited to get a week off there. But I think it's great for the SEC. Like, I mean, for so long, all these SEC people have joked around about it means more, it's the best conference, all that stuff. Now we get to see it. We get to see, like, you know, teams not getting a chance off week after week. And I think teams like Alabama, teams that have Kirby Smart, teams that have this coaching staff that have been through all this stuff, are going to be better prepared for this, for having to go to war week after week after week after week.
Do number of losses matter this year in the SEC?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you have two, can you still play for a national championship, considering you played a 10-game SEC schedule?
Jimbo Fisher's going to argue, yes.
I think so. I think absolutely. I think that's how the college football playoff would do it.
Yeah.
You take two teams from the SEC. And the one thing, I wonder how much, if there's going to be more injuries this year, because 10-game
week
SEC
after week
schedule,
how
much banging that is tough. That is tough.
It's
I mean, I went through seasons where you play Ole Miss, and that's the week where you hurt the most. And there was years where Ole Miss wasn't even all that great.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just, I can't imagine 10 of those games.
I know.
Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting. Of course, Alabama is the prohibitive favorite in the SEC. Their over/under in 10 games. Their over/under for wins is 9. They had their first scrimmage over the weekend. Head coach Nick Saban talking about the scrimmage.
Obviously, after we watch this film, we'll have a lot better indication about how players did that. A lot of the stuff was game-like today, but we also had a lot of situational things. And I don't think there's any player here who, if they assess what they did and where they are, and they calibrated it relative to the best player they're going to play against all year long, whether you're an offensive lineman, a wide receiver, a defensive back, or a defensive lineman, or a linebacker, all right, this is the best guy I have to play against. How would I assess where I am relative to that? So it's not necessarily even how you did today. It's really about where you can go and how good you can be, and that's what we really want our players to stay focused on.
I don't have any idea what that means, but I would say that in some ways I think he's right. Like, the best player they're going to play against all year long might be when Alabama scrimmages Alabama. Talking about injuries and having to go hard week after week for 10 weeks, like, this is a team with 5-star guys all the way down the depth chart. So somebody goes out, maybe Alabama's best suited to survive this thing.
He's got a point on that. Yeah. Every time I hear him talk, though, I can't think of as far as the playing the best guy every week.
Yeah. There's something about calibrating in there.
I don't know. I sort of tune out for most of it. I can't get it out of my mind when so quit asking. That's all I think of when I hear Nick say. I swear, that's all I think of when I hear him speak.
Quit asking.
That's all I hear.
It's crazy when you look at the SEC this year. 14 teams, 8 of them, their over/under is below 5. I mean, normally on a normal year, we talk about the SEC having 8, 9, 10 bowl-eligible teams, which would be 6 wins. Now, in a 10-game schedule that's all SEC, no guaranteed 4 wins out of conference, you have 8 of your 14 teams that their over/under for wins this year are under 5.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible.
I think there's going to be 1 or 2 teams that go 9-1, 8-2, that kind of thing, and then there's going to be a whole bunch of 6-4, 5-5 teams in the middle of this
4 and 6s.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, and then there's going to be Arkansas. But I think
Vanderbilt's over/under is 1.
Vandy too, yeah. I mean, especially considering that half their team is opted out because they have better things going on.
I also have opted out. Did not renew my Vanderbilt season tickets. I had season tickets last year to get Georgia tickets at Vanderbilt. So this year I let them go.
You let them go this year. Oh, well, that's too bad. Vanderbilt at 1, Arkansas at 2, Mississippi State 2.5. Tennessee Volunteers, a team that last year there was excitement. A team
wait. Come
on.
At the end of the year.
Every year.
No.
At the beginning of the year, you talked about the broken ATM.
At the beginning of the year, they were just spending out money every week.
As the year went on, there was excitement.
I think they're going to be good this year.
Their over/under is 4.
I'll take the over on that.
4.
I think Tennessee's going to be pretty good. I mean, Garantano was pretty good coming off the bench last year, and it seemed like finally he turned a corner toward the end of the year. I feel like
he has his moments.
Yeah, I think
he makes moments.
Let's be clear. Jim Chaney's terrible. I've been saying that from the start. The offensive coordinator, he's awful. But I think they've got enough skill guys there. They've got an offensive line. Like, they're going to be okay.
You just got to control Garantano. Like, it's just like he'll make a fantastic throw. And you'll be like, okay, that's what you expect out of him.
Yeah.
And then the next play, it'll just be the most boneheaded interception you'll ever see. Or you'll be on the 1 yard line against Alabama and you'll do a random QB sneak and then fumble it and they return it 99 yards. That's sort of the Jekyll and Hyde that you see from him.
Yeah. I'm with you on this, Lang. I'm looking at their schedule. Like, I counted 6.
I think 6 and 4.
I counted at least 6. I counted 6 wins. Like, and that's giving them at South Carolina. So if you take that away, they still get that's 5.
That's the opener, right?
South Carolina, Missouri, Kentucky, Vandy, and then you can give them one of these others, whether it's Auburn, whether it's Texas A&M, Arkansas. They're going to beat Arkansas. There's 5-6 wins on that schedule.
Look, the SEC. This is a good year for the SEC East if you're a team in there, because Georgia's going to be reloading. Like, no one really knows what's going to happen. I guess Florida might be the favorite, and then it could be Tennessee. I'm all in on Tennessee this year. I feel good about them.
Georgia's still at 8.5. Florida at 7.5.
8.5 is not good for Georgia.
Yeah, Florida 7.5, and Kentucky it would be the next team in the East at 4.5, which is unbelievable. In the West, it's Alabama at 9, LSU at 8, Texas A&M Auburn at 7, A&M at 6, and then after that it's Ole Miss at 3.5. So. Very low expectations for a lot of these teams. It'll be interesting considering, what teams will look at it as failure. I mean, when coaches' jobs come, Derek Mason at Vanderbilt, you're playing 10 SEC games. You may only win.
Do you get a pass?
If you hit the over, you got 2.
I think you get a pass.
And not to mention,
is this a free pass year?
Well, what the athletic departments are going through financially, too.
For
That's
sure.
True.
I mean, we were talking about guys getting injured and stuff, but we didn't talk about guys who might miss games because of COVID, too. There's going to be that, too. So I think if you're a coach, there's no expectations. Like, you can't expect anything from these guys. Half the SEC has new coaches anyway. So the only one who I'd say really is probably on the hot seat was Mason going into this thing. And
what do you expect to do in 10 SEC games?
I know. Like, if they go 0-10, you're going to be like, oh, he didn't get it done.
And half his team just opted out.
How can you? I don't think you can really hold anyone accountable for this year.
Yeah, well, Tennessee, they want to get back to UT standard. That over-under is 4. That would be down from last year. But again, with the SEC schedule, who knows how it would be viewed. But Jeremy Pruitt, he wants to get back to UT standard.
Well, when you talk about comparing Tennessee now to like me and you know it, when I was growing up, Tennessee was one of the premier programs in the country, and that's still the expectations of the fans, everybody associated with the athletic department, our coaching staff, and our players. But what comes with that, a lot of that has to do with who you play. And this league is very competitive. We've got to execute the plan, and our players, they believe in our vision and the kids that we're recruiting, and it takes a lot that goes into it, and we're continuing to work our plan.
There you go.
When was Tennessee considered one of the premier programs? They won one national title.
When Jeremy Pruitt was a kid.
Tennessee was absolutely one of the premier programs in the country in the 90s. Like, they were top 5 every year. They were a top 5
when
team
Jeremy Pruitt was a kid.
Year.
Lang.
Thanks.
Before he was coaching at Hoover High School with the head coach who was leading the double life.
Rush Probst. That's right. Some of the other SEC numbers: Florida Gators at 7.5. The Vols, as we said, at 4. Ole Miss at 3.5. Missouri Tigers at 3. Mississippi State, they're at 2.5. Vanderbilt 1.5. Arkansas at 2. So those are a lot of low numbers. We certainly will not have enough teams for bowl games if we actually have bowl games. I haven't really heard anything about bowl games, but bowl games, the way they make money, and these bowl people make money, are based on tickets.
Sure.
Period. I haven't heard anything about bowls. First of all, we're not going to have enough teams eligible for bowls unless they just allow anybody to play. Second, if there are no ticket sales, will bowls even exist?
I wonder if I was thinking about this today.
I mean, maybe the playoff because of TV and everything, but other than that, why would any of the other bowls exist?
Maybe they do a pay-per-view thing.
Good luck.
Would you see the Oklahoma Open?
Yeah,
going to be $55 or whatever?
To see them play Central Arkansas.
Sure, but if you put who makes the Outback Bowl, and say you put Ole Miss against somebody in the Outback Bowl, and you say it's $15 to pay-per-view it. I think people would buy it.
I think you could do that with the big bowls. Outback, I think that's where I draw the line. It's like the old BCS bowls is where it'd be like, okay, the peach, the sugar, the rose.
I mean, there might not be enough teams to have an Outback Bowl,
right?
But any of these bowls, I don't know. Maybe there's not a way to make money. Maybe this.
But even if you're selling, is there enough money to be made for the bowls? I don't think so. I mean, I'll be surprised if we have a full bowl season.
Yeah, for sure.
Totally surprised.
For the group of 5 schools, they usually lose money too making those trips. So I don't know how that'll work.
I mean, it's also for fans. This is the time we get to travel across, the country and go support our team and the thing. And
no, we're
that
not.
ain't happening.
No,
so.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll talk a lot more SEC coming up in a couple of weeks when the SEC actually gets ready to play on the 26th when they start their 10-game schedule all in conference. We'll take a break here on the Odds Couple. When we come back, we'll look at some of the trends from some of the games coming up this weekend, including the Tigers and Arkansas State. That's all coming up here on the Odds Couple on Grind City Media.
Hey, happy Friday. It's time to rise and grind. I'm Jessica Benson.
Did you say hey-yo, hey-yo?
Hey-yo, hey-yo. I'm Megan Friday. Come on. We have a big show lined up for you today. We've got all sorts of things to talk about within the NBA bubble, NFL updates, college football updates.
We got to get to some pop culture news. It's the music, the entertainment, everything going on.
All the stories to get you through today and into your weekend.
Rise and Grind with Jessica and Megan. Live daily at 8 a.m. on grindcitymedia.com.
In everything we do, defensive activity, offensive execution, play together, have an edge about us. Just play with an edge. Play with an edge and play together.
Durant, block for Jaren, blocked by James. Dylan Brooks with authority. Tyus Jones to Brandon Clark. A turn and gun. He got it. Jones for three. Solid block by Jaren.
Yeah, stay together, Blue, stay together. Way to roll me, kid. Let's leave it out there.
Ja Morant with elevation.
Once a week, get your basketball fix with Talkin' Grizz featuring me, Kelsey Wright-Johnson, and media from around the NBA as we discuss draft topics, prospects, and more. Connect with Grind City Media on all their social channels, subscribe to Grind City Media YouTube, and follow Grind City Media on Twitter and Instagram to stay up to date with all things Grizzlies.
Welcome back to the Odds Couple on grindcitymedia.com. Live from FedEx Forum and the American Home Shield Studio. Here's the Odds Couple, Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker.
Hey, get your daily sports, pop culture, and Grizz fix with insider news and commentary on all things sports and more with the Chris Vernon Show. Now live at noon daily, Monday through Friday. Tune in to grindcitymedia.com, Grind City Media on YouTube, or via the official Grizzlies mobile app to catch Chris live, or download each episode daily and subscribe at iTunes, Spotify, or SoundCloud today. Welcome back to the Odds Couple. Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker with you. Gabe Kuhn joining us here today, former Memphis Tiger offensive lineman back in 2013-17, long time ago. Join us today as we preview the Tigers as they get set to take on Arkansas State this weekend. John Roser in the house as well. All of us will have our picks here in a moment. But first, let's hear from Ryan Silverfield, head coach of the Memphis Tigers, talking about this week's opponent playing in prime time against Arkansas State.
Like I said, Arkansas State's a heck of an opponent. We're going to get everything they have. I'm telling you what, they're fantastically, like I mentioned yesterday, they're well coached. They've got a lot of skill, a lot of talent. I mean, think about this. They return every single starter on their offense with a -1 wide receiver, but they return a ton of depth. Their entire offensive line's back, both their quarterbacks. I mean, you want to talk about some nose guards. They've got some of the best nose guards we've ever seen. And, we know they're going to get it. So I think our guys will. Not that they need to play up for the prime time, but if the fans are limited in the stands, we know we'll be able to put on for the country, and that will certainly excite us a little bit more.
They got some nose guards, man.
He said, anytime you start a sentence with, you want to talk about some nose guards?
This reminds me, though, and I'm not trying to, take ridiculous shots. This reminds me of, when Lou Holtz used to talk about the Citadel. It's like everybody's fan. The best team will play on our schedule.
Yep.
So.
And we're not very good. Or as Lou would say, we're just not a very good football team.
You want to talk about some nose guards.
By the way. You want to talk about some nose guards? All right.
That's a really good.
That's pretty
Lou
good,
Holtz.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Just got to dress up like Granny from Beverly Hills. Hillbillies.
Tigers taking on Arkansas State this week. When I sent out the picks for the show, we had the line at 16. It's up to 19 now in this game.
People love talking about nose guards.
Wow. Tigers 11-9 against spread last 20, have not covered 3 of their last 5. They've gone over in 7 of their last 10. 9-5 against the spread at home, although they have not covered their last 3 at home.
Yeah.
29-13 against the spread as a 10.5 to 21-point favorite. They've covered 11 of the last 14 as a favorite that big, including covering 2 of the last 3. They won 17 straight against non-conference games at home, going back to Duke on September 7, 2013. You were on the team but did not play, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Redshirt year.
So not your fault.
No.
Also, 35-5 their last 40 at home, which is remarkable
really
that the Liberty Bowl has become that much of a home field advantage. 9-4 against the spread at home in their last 13, and they've won 6 straight openers after losing 9 straight openers. So it's the Tigers and Arkansas State in those games. That brings us to our picks this week. Gabe, we will start with you. First, the over-under on wins for the Tigers is great. What a great number.
That number. So I had to text you. As soon as you sent me it, I was just like, this number is miserable. I mean, but I leaned over just because when you look at if they get into a championship game, if they get to play a bowl game, I think they have the capability to reach that number. They have out of conference that I think they're very capable of sweeping those, going 2-0 in those. And then when they get into conference, they have a Tulane game that's very winnable. Houston, very winnable. So I think you're going to have a lot of winnable games in there. You do have, I think, 5 games realistically. When you look at Temple, Cincinnati, UCF, Navy. There's one more I can't think of in a second, but that could go either way. But I think they'll get a few of those as well.
AAC champ?
UCF.
Why UCF?
Gosh, I see. This is unfortunate. I have to say this. Dylan Gabriel last year showed how good he was and how capable he was, and I think a year under his belt's going to only make that better. In the end of the day, I thought last year even that team was the most capable of beating that Memphis team. So I don't really change off of that. So I think UCF is that team this year that can run through the AAC and win it.
You like the Tigers, you like the under in that game, and also the other game that we're looking at, the big one this week, BYU Navy. You're taking BYU even though you had a big fight against them.
Yeah, because if you I don't know if you guys know this, but most of the time BYU has like the biggest people, the biggest human beings like ever
because
created.
They're all like 28 years old.
Yeah, and they're all like they get like the 6'7", 6'8", just massive human beings. And Navy is not that.
Right.
And Navy has to replace Malcolm Perry. I still think it'll be close. I think Kendi Amadalolo always brings it.
Yep.
But
I'm leaning. He just wanted to say his name.
He rattled it. He practiced his whole way here today.
I'm leaning BYU. I'll take BYU plus the points.
All right, time for my 5, Fish's 5. I'm going with the Tigers over 8 wins as well. I think that number's right on the money. 3 just seems like too many. 1 seems like it's going to be tough. 8 seems like the right number. I'll go ahead and take the over and plan on getting a push. I'm going UCF as well as the conference champion. Taking Memphis this week, taking the over 69.5, which is now up to 74, which is amazing.
Wow.
And I'll take Navy minus the 1.5 because it's at home. Although being at home, what does it really matter? I don't. Although going to Navy's different. Right. I mean, did you ever go to Navy?
Yeah. 100%.
It's different, isn't it?
It's different when you have everybody in the stands.
Sure. But isn't it still a different sort of atmosphere even without that?
It's interesting, the placement of it. It's one of the cooler stadiums that I got to play in. But I don't know without the fans and without everybody sitting in the stands, it's going to be the same.
Without being surrounded by tens of thousands of soldiers.
Yes, exactly,
It's probably not quite as intimidating.
Yeah, 100%.
Lang, what you got
Jumping
this
up
week?
and down.
I got, similar to you, I got Tigers over. I'm going, I can't believe you guys wouldn't pick Memphis as your AAC champs. I mean, you went to school there. I can't believe you guys wouldn't choose them. I mean, what in the world?
I'm wearing my Derek Ballard jersey.
I hope they win it. I just missed a pick.
Sure
it's
you
a
do.
pick.
Sure, okay. I picked Memphis. Same picks as everybody. I picked BYU. I mean, I'm sorry. I picked Navy only because last year I learned my lesson trying to bet on BYU throughout the season. They teased us all year, and it was up and down. Remember, then they opened against Utah last year, and they looked great. And I picked that one, and then the rest of the year they just killed me. So I'm sticking with Navy and going with the triple option.
They had 2 straight wins against was it Tennessee and then USC the next week.
Yeah,
and then they lose to like Air Force, and then lose 5 straight games.
Then we found out it was Tennessee that stunk. Not that they were
well,
good.
at the time.
At the time.
Yeah, Roser. Here are Roser's picks. Although apparently we've had changes.
Who knows?
Yeah,
which is a weekly tradition.
We're gonna go over the 8 wins for Memphis. The AAC champ, we're gonna go with Cincinnati. I like the Natty. I think it's gonna come down between Memphis and Cincinnati for the AAC champ. I think UCF's had too many guys opt out. I think that's gonna hurt them. But I think if you guys have never gone and played on the road at Cincinnati with no fans,
at Nippert,
then you just haven't played a real football game before, because it's going to be a hornet's nest with no fans on October 31st, Halloween in Cincinnati when the Tigers go there. Memphis, Arkansas State. You know what? I don't care. You know the only line I care about is the first half line, right?
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, it is 10.5 for Memphis. It is 10.5. I don't really like that.
I like it.
I'm going to go with Memphis minus the 19. I think they're going to cover it. I think Arkansas State, their offense does worry me that they can score a little bit, but
they'll be using
I think Memphis is going to. I think their defense nose guards, right? Yeah, that's code for our defense. Their defense sucks. So I think Memphis is not going to have any problem scoring. My favorite line is over 38 in the first half.
Over 38 in the first half.
Over 38 in the first half.
All right, there you go. A couple of other games of note.
Oh, BYU. I learned this last year. One of the first games I gambled on last year, I had Rice plus the points against Army. When you have that entire offseason to prepare for a triple option, when you have all that time to prepare for a triple option, I like BYU.
Aren't they going Navy then Army 2 straight weeks?
Yeah,
I think they've been preparing for
that's
it.
what they've been looking at. That's all they've been doing is preparing for triple option.
True. A couple of other games. South Alabama against Southern Miss. Total of South Alabama's last 6 games on the road, 5 of the 6 have gone under. Also, the total's gone under in 5 of Southern Miss's last 5 games. So all 5 of theirs have gone under. So under the big play there. Colgate, Western Michigan, you ask?
Yeah, what about it?
Yeah. Colgate 0-5 against the spread, their last 5 on the road. Western Michigan's won 7 of their last 8 at home. Take Western Michigan and take the under as well. 6 of the last 7 Western Michigan games at home have gone under. Eastern Kentucky, Marshall. Eastern Kentucky 4-1 against the spread, their last 5 on the road. And the total's gone over in 7 of Marshall's last 8 at home. So Eastern Kentucky in the over. Middle Tennessee, Army. Total's gone over in 5 of Middle Tennessee's last 6 and over in 7 of the last 10 on the road. So the over in that one. And Houston Baptist. Take the points with Houston Baptist this week.
Baptist.
They've covered 4 of their last 5 on the road and 4 of their last 5 overall. And UTEP Steve F. Austin.
Steve.
How do you find stats on Houston Baptist covering the spread?
He does the work.
This is what we do for a living, Roser.
You didn't even know where to get that.
Roser, we do the work on this side
I didn't
of the
even know
glass,
Houston
right?
Baptist had a football team until you just said that.
I didn't either.
Sure.
I didn't either. Steve Austin, they're 1-4 against the spread, their last 5.
Wasn't that the $6 million man?
Yeah, go ahead and take UTEP on that one. All right, that's going to do it.
Good.
Happy football season, man.
We're here. We're
happy
back.
to be here.
We made it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next week, we'll be talking a lot of NFL and preview the season of the NFL. We got the SEC starting in a few weeks. Tigers play this week, then they got an off week, and then they'll be back the following week. So we are underway. Gabe, thanks for coming in today, man.
Thanks
we
for
really
having us.
appreciate it.
Appreciate
Real
it.
fun.
Really
Real
appreciate
fun.
it. We'll do it again. Roser, thank you. Thanks to Roser and Lang. Gabe for joining us. Thanks to Robbie today as well. Always thanks to Kimball for helping out as well. And thank you for joining us here on The Odds Couple. We are back. We'll be back weekly now, starting now with college football season getting underway. Next week, we'll talk some NFL. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the Tigers. Go Tigers, go.
You've been listening to The Odds Couple from the American Home Shield Studio on GrindCityMedia.com. Tune in next week for more football handicapping with Rob Fisher and Lang Whitaker.